Securing prior authorization for Dupixent with Cigna can feel like an uphill battle. You've got forms to fill out, documentation to compile, and insurers to convince, all while trying to provide the best care for your patients. If you've felt the frustration of delays or denials, you're not alone. But with the right approach, this process doesn't have to be such a headache. Let's talk about how to make it easier. First, let's look at why Cigna requires prior authorization for Dupixent in the first place. Dupixent is a biologic therapy that's often prescribed for patients with moderate to severe asthma, particularly those with an eosinophilic phenotype or who rely on oral corticosteroids. It's an incredibly effective treatment, but it's also expensive. Cigna wants to ensure it's being used appropriately and in line with clinical guidelines, which is why they require thorough documentation before they'll agree to cover it. The first step in the process is a conversation with your patient. As their healthcare provider, you need to assess whether Dupixent is the right option for them. Have they tried other treatments? Are their symptoms severe enough to warrant this next step? Once you decide Dupixent is appropriate, the pre-certification process begins. This is where the paperwork starts piling up. Cigna will require detailed medical records to justify the request. You'll need to provide the patient's diagnosis, treatment history, and any relevant lab results, like their eosinophil count if they have an eosinophilic phenotype. You'll also need clinical notes documenting the severity of their asthma, any hospitalizations, and why other treatments haven't worked. Now here's where things can get tricky. Even a small oversight in the documentation can lead to delays or outright denials. And let's be honest, keeping up with these submissions while managing a busy practice is no small task. This is exactly where outsourcing to a service like Staffingly can make a real difference. Staffingly specializes in handling prior authorizations, from gathering and organizing documentation to submitting complete, error-free requests. They take the administrative burden off your plate, freeing up your team to focus on patient care. Once the prior authorization request is submitted, it's time to follow up. Cigna usually processes requests within 5 to 10 business days for standard cases, but urgent ones can be expedited. Still, the process doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes insurers will request additional information or clarification, and other times, they might deny the request outright. If a denial happens, don't give up. Review Cigna's reasoning and prepare an appeal, often providing additional documentation or requesting a peer-to-peer review between the prescribing doctor and Cigna's medical team can turn things around. Persistence really pays off here. One thing to keep in mind throughout this process is the importance of accurate coding. Using the correct ICD and CPT codes ensures that Cigna understands the patient's condition and the necessity of Dupixent. Your billing team likely has this under control, but it's always worth double-checking. At the end of the day, prior authorizations aren't just about checking boxes. They're about advocating for your patient, but they can also take up a huge chunk of your practice's time. That's where Staffingly steps in again. By outsourcing these time-consuming tasks, you not only improve efficiency, but also reduce stress on your team. Staffingly's 24/7 support and expertise mean faster approvals and fewer headaches for everyone involved. Plus, with cost savings of up to 70%, it's a solution that makes financial sense too. So what's the takeaway here? When it comes to getting Dupixent approved, preparation and persistence are key. Gather complete records, stay proactive with follow-ups, and don't let a denial discourage you. And if the administrative burden feels overwhelming, remember there are solutions to lighten the load. Staffingly is here to help your practice run smoothly, so you can focus on what you do best, delivering great care to your patients.
If you are looking for outsourcing services, schedule a demo today by visiting www.staffingly.com or emailing us at support@staffingly.com or call us on the number 1-800-489-5877.